Marriages and the weddings to celebrate them have been happening forever, it seems. In fact, the earliest marriage certificate is about 2,500 years old. It was found in a Jewish garrison in Egypt on the island in the Nile called Elephantine. It documents that the groom landed himself a healthy 14-year-old bride in exchange for 6 cows. Wait a minute, I'm 14. I'm expecting something a little different than a herd of cows from my marriage. As teen girls, we've got a lot of questions about what marriage means and what we want.
And like enthusiasm, like a lot of older people who have been around a while.
Wilmar is a pretty town. It's located in the middle part of Minnesota, and it has a population of 18,351, according to the 2000 U.S. Census. The advent of the railroad in 1869 brought lots of Swedish and Norwegian and German immigrants to the area. The next year, Leon Wilmar purchased the land for the St. Paul and Pacific Railroad Company. It became a city in 1901. Now, 109 years later, the town serves as a home for the families of those first immigrants and newer immigrant families, including Hispanic, Somali, and Pakistani. Remember our curiosity about love and marriage? Well, Wilmar has a lot of different cultures and traditions to look at. So, we started talking. Teens and elders. It was time to find out what love and marriage was all about.
Whatever color suits they had.
I've been married 60 years in September.
I've been married for 62 years.
Married to the same guy, 50 years. It'll be 50 years now in June.
Yep, these are the women to talk to.
And my husband and I, we went out to eat on our 47th anniversary. And this restaurant that we went to, the girl come over and she says, "How come you're so dressed so pretty?" Well, I said, "It's our anniversary." She said, "Oh, really?" She said, "It's their anniversary and their anniversary and their anniversary." She said, "There's a couple back there." And she said, "How long have you been married?" I said, 45 years. "Oh, my goodness," she said. "How did you ever manage that?" I said, "Come here, honey, come here." And I whispered her in their ear, "We're damn good fighters." You've got to fight it out, or you're never going to make it.
Oh God, I hope I had 47-year anniversary instead of 2 years that I'm gone.
Yeah.
I think my biggest fear for marriage would just it would be like it just not working out.
That's my tone.
Yeah.
That's my big.
I mean, I don't think there's really anything much worse than that unless he like abuses you, but.
I think my biggest fear is just not having the guy understand me at all, you know. I mean, that kind of goes along with your answer, but...
My biggest fear is like, not lasting long.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, like we just like, you know, become a fire and water, you know, just like, you know, like, we just start
Just
fighting.
clash.
Clash, you know, like, you know, those magnets, when you try to put them together, they go the opposite way.
opportunity because I'd like to get your perspective on marriage, and I haven't really talked with any other generations about marriage, but it's been coming up in my life a lot lately. And my friends have been talking to me about it, my parents have been talking to me about it, and there are a lot of questions there, and there's a lot to discuss. So I think this is a really, really good opportunity, and I'd like to get like other people's perspective on it, other than just my teenage friends' perspective on it. Because I think you guys have a lot more wisdom, like you said, 50 years and 62 years. There's a lot I can learn from that.
I have not ever talked to any teenagers about marriage, and my children are in their later 40s, and so it's, you know, you don't talk about it to them either, other than that they know that their parents were married. But it's gotten to be less popular or less common for people to keep on being married. But like Phyllis says, we had to stay within our household because it was really not very popular for mothers to go to work after their children came. And there weren't the daycare situations that there are today.
Can you tell us about your wedding and how it was and everything?
Well, my sister was my maid of honor. It's hard to remember most of your wedding because there's so much to do and so much to go on that, well, I think it went pretty good myself, the wedding. I wore my sister's wedding gown. It was, actually, she was taller than I was, and I think it looked nicer on me because I had a crinoline where she just had a straight skirt. And crinolines were in style, and what that is, it's a skirt with a lot of ruffles. And you put that under your clothes, and then so they stick out. I feel like I looked better in it than she did, but. And it had a veil, which you put over your face before you're married. And then after you're married, you take it, put it on the other side.
Did someone make your dress?
Yes, I did.
How long did it take you?
It took me 10 months. I had always wanted white orchids for my bouquet. And if I tried to get real ones, they would have to be shipped from Chicago. And so why was I living in Chicago and having them shipped from Chicago to Wilmar? So we got plastic ones. Now this was before there was silk. There were no silk flowers. There were only plastic ones. So this is my bouquet. This is the Bible that I carried down the aisle with the orchids on top and streamers.
And we made nut cups of, we collected pop bottle tops. And we took the corks out of them. Do you know how the tops on it? We took the corks out and then we put some net and different colored paper in there, and then we put the cork back in there so it stuck up like this, and that was the nut cups to put on the tables for everybody.
One thing about my wedding is I was living with my sister and my brother and my mother back and forth. The neighbors all brought the flowers.
We made roses of crepe paper, pink and yellow roses, and we twined them around a candelabra.
My boss, she made the wedding cake, and that was her gift to me.
And then it was my dad and I, and then when I got to the back of the aisle, I sang to my husband. I sang, "I love you truly." And after I got done, then I walked down the aisle, and my dad would say, or the pastor said, "Who gives this woman to this man?" And then my dad said, "Her mother and I do." And then they sat down, and then he gave my hand to Bob, and then that was it. And there we're walking down the aisle after we were pronounced husband and wife. There I am, a young bride, yeah. My mother and I made my wedding dress. We bought a pattern, and it was white satin, and it had a long train. It was in a church. We had a church wedding, so then that's the kind of dresses you could wear. And it had all chantilly lace. I don't know, that's French, I think. And it had sort of a little peplum in the front here, and a sweetheart neckline, they called it.
So pretty. Mm-hmm. So beautiful.
Well, that feels special.
Do you really?
Yes.
This feels so weird.
Oh, dear.
I feel like one of those bee catchers or something.
I'd probably get the white dress. I wouldn't get like a really fancy or expensive one, but I'd kind of want my wedding to be like simple and like with close people around me, but something like elegant and nice too as well. Like, cause it's a day you'll remember for the rest of your life. I mean, it's important. Not important to go spend thousands of dollars on it, but something nice and small.
Okay, so the big white dress. Let's take a look.
My name is Taryn DeBoer, and I'm the owner of Weddings on First in Wilmar, Minnesota. Your dress is very important. It's probably the most beautiful you're going to feel in your whole life on your wedding day. Ball gown, that would be this style. This is my favorite dress.
So cute. And like these things right here look like diamonds or something. Here. It feels really happy and like, 'cause it's just so big and it has color and the beads are so shiny. It's like, oh, this is my wedding and I'm really happy. I like things that have designs on them. I don't like plain things because then you get noticed more.
Sure. This is an example of a pickup skirt. So what that means is the material's like gathered and create. It's almost like a cupcake. Lots of girls will call it a cupcake dress.
You look very uncomfortable in this dress.
I am.
And why is that?
I don't fit in the boobies.
I do. I love weddings. You know, I love weddings. I love prom. It's fun. I mean, we sometimes try them on when they come in the store just to see what they look like, and if it's kind of slow, we'll play dress up ourselves too. We just hope nobody walks in then. But I mean, it's probably the most beautiful you're gonna feel in your life on that day. So.
And he has like these ridiculous headshots and stuff. And then you have pictures after they got married, and he's just like this adorable professional guy wearing a tie, holding a baby, and I think it's the funniest thing in the world.
And were they married in Pakistan?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then they came here.
Yeah.
You Muslim? Yeah, but you don't wear a head.
The hijab.
Yeah.
I don't really believe in that. It doesn't make sense to me.
Okay. And so what kind of a ceremony do you have? Do you have white dresses that you wear like
Not at all.
No.
I mentioned a white dress to my mother one time, and she kind of flipped out on me because white is kind of the color. Like here to funerals, people wear black. In Islam and everything, people wear white because it's pure and everything. So I wouldn't really wear white to a wedding because that would seem kind of morbid from that perspective. Usually it's red.
Well, I think in Winnie and Phyllis's days, they were talking about the dress and how important it was to wear white and how much that's said about a person.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's really different nowadays because people aren't like broadcasting their personal life through the color of a dress anymore, you know. And I remember asking one of them if they would have worn something other than white, and they were like, that would have been terrible, because you know, then you're pretty much telling the entire town that you're not a virgin, and it had huge implications behind it, and I don't think that really exists anymore.
I'd have like a white dress. Like, I don't know, I just think it's symbolic and for weddings, having a white dress.
But what if you didn't want a white dress? like,
Go get a white dress.
but and you like see,
Well,
but they couldn't get it.
Would your entire family and the entire town freak out and be like, "You're not a virgin because you're not wearing white"?
Well, I don't think it's so expected that you have to be a virgin to wear white anymore. Like, it's just, people just wear white even if they're not, it seems like.
Because it's a tradition.
Yeah.
We certainly think of Western wedding dresses as being white, but actually, blue was the most popular color in a rainbow full of choices. Until Queen Victoria wore white to marry Prince Albert. She set a fashion frenzy through Europe, and white took over for Western weddings. But wait, there are lots of different ways to do a wedding.
At my wedding, I would probably wear a traditional sari, Indian outfit. You wear a blouse and like kind of a scarf type thing, I guess you'd call it. My dad's side of the family is Christian, so I would just wear like whatever color I wanted, but it would be an Indian sari to the Christian wedding.
I love that. I would probably end up in some really elaborate, shiny outfit just because of my mother. And it's usually like a really flowy long skirt, yeah, like a blouse kind of, not really, I don't know what to call it. And then like a big scarf. I mean, traditionally it's red or green or something like that, but usually red. And then it's gold embroidered all over the place. Like really, really intricate and elaborate and shiny. And then the scarf usually has this thing called gota around it. The edges have like a ribbon type thing all around it. And it's all gold and red, and there are these things called chudiyan. They're bracelets except they're glass.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, you wear them like all around your arms. And they're really difficult to put on actually if you're not used to it.
Yeah, I know.
You end up, right? You
have to like
cut up
sew.
your hands. And
Yeah.
it's bad if you don't do it properly. But there's that, and they're usually really, really shiny too.
Yeah.
And then there's this tradition of the bride getting henna tattoos.
Oh yeah. All over it.
All over. I actually really like henna, so I wouldn't mind that. But
Didn't you say something about the guy has to?
yeah, as long as the henna's on the bride's arms and feet or whatever, after the wedding, for as long as they don't fade, the guy has to like do everything for the girl. There's been like a tradition for that, but I really like henna, so I kind of want that part of it. I don't know if I want the big red dress with the gold embroidery and all that. It's probably what I'll end up in.
You get together with your mate, what happens?
Well, ours is like, well, it's like so much different than yours because I kind of talk to a lot of people and I kind of know how you guys get married. Ours is like, okay, that guy goes to, when you guys agree, you and him are going to agree to get married. He talks to his dad, tells him that me and this girl been dating for that long and we want a future together and we want to get married. So then his dad calls my dad. And then they make a day. He tells him why he wants to be here with him and all that stuff. So talk about it. So they make a day to all come together, and in my house, my dad's house, and one of my family, either my mom or my cousins, which my cousins right now, cooks dinner lunch for the guys. So they all get together, and then the guys shake hands. Him and my dad and his dad shake hands, and there's money in it, and then he nods it and then he gives it away, and the guy signs the paper. There's a guy who's a religious guy. He tells him all the rules about how he has to take care of me, all that stuff, and then they sign the paper and then we're married. We don't have to have a big, huge wedding or anything. But these days, every girl wants a huge wedding. Like, she wants the big wedding and spend a lot of money on it. In my wedding at A-Match, to be honest with you, I don't want a wedding at all. Yeah.
I didn't want to get married, but so I went to my mother and I said, Mom, I don't want to marry. I don't want to get married. I don't want to marry him. She said, Rosie, she said, everybody bought their wedding presents. You just got the wedding jitters. She said, it'll be all right. After you're married, it'll be all right. And I said, no, I don't want to get married. And she said, well, they all bought their wedding presents. What are they going to do with the gifts they bought? And so she kind of made me feel guilty, you know. Well, I used to work at a restaurant. It was called the Fat Boy, Art Heads. And he would always come in there because he worked at a gas station just in back of the building.
Did he try to do anything special to get your attention or win you over?
Oh, yes. He'd come in and I tried to ignore him because I was working and I couldn't sit and visit with him. And then he was getting to be a pest. I thought he was a pest. So I would try to ignore him. So he'd write little notes, you know, and cute little notes. I wish I would have saved them. And then, so then we'd go out, and if I wouldn't go out with him, then he'd maybe bring me some flowers or, you know, a gift, like a locket. He gave me a locket once. And that's the first nice piece of jewelry I ever had.
To the ladies in the previous interview, Phyllis and Winnie and all of them, and hearing them talk about how their guys courted them or tried to woo them or whatever, none of that sounded familiar to me. I mean, no one does that anymore. It's like you mentioned earlier, it's just texting.
It's texting or email if you're special.
Yeah.
Oh,
She made it seem really romantic, the love notes and all that, and I feel like romance kind of died.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I don't know. I don't think it's totally like. I think you're right that
don't get me wrong, but
Well, no, I mean, I think that what you were saying about how the kind of courtship rituals are different now, I think that's true to an extent, but I was just, like, there's a younger guy on my old running team, and he was going to go on a date with this girl, and he was kind of asking us, like, all the older kids for advice of what to do. So I think that there's still, you know, I think that's still out there.
it's really rare, and I never see it anymore. What I usually see nowadays is people fighting over, like, are we Facebook official? Are we not? You know?
I don't know, marriage means to me, like, you're with someone for, like, a long time. Well, usually not these days. People get divorces, but if you stick it out, like you said, you're in marriage for a long time. But, like, to me, like, you're going to be with that person forever, so, like, you're tied down. And, like, you don't have that much freedom to go out with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and you have to, like, my family says you have to obey your husband.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think, and so I'm not really set on getting married.
You don't want to obey a man,
Yeah,
all right?
I don't like to be told what to do, and something like that. Yeah.
Well, that's, you know, I got married with that idea too, I guess, because, you know, we promised to obey and this type of thing too. But I think that, you know, as you get older, you develop your own personality more as you get older, and you get to understand that you have to accept what your husband likes to do. Like, you know, I get really bored at football games and going fishing and stuff like that, but he really likes that, you know, he really enjoys that. So then you just accept that, and then you develop what you like to do, you know, because I like to sing and paint and stuff, and so he said accept that, and he's, you know, gone with me to different things that he probably doesn't really, he's really bored at, and and so you sort of have to learn to accept each other and not, you know, complain about it. There's no, you can't change a man, you know.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't let him change you either. So, but there are lots of things you have to learn to accept, and it takes a while, you know, to learn to do that. You don't just do that the first 5 years you're married. Sometimes it takes 60 years.
What made you know that you wanted to be married?
That's what girls did at that age. You know, they either went to college or they got married. I mean, that's the way it was. And teachers couldn't be married. If they, you know, if they wanted to get married, they had to quit teaching.
What?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, give up your career just to be married?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't like that idea.
So you could be a nurse but not a doctor.
No.
There was no police officers that were women back then?
No, no.
It seems pretty unfair
Uh-huh.
to
Yeah.
have to choose between a career and having a family.
It seemed more like a men's world back then.
Yeah. I guess it was.
Did you feel that way at the time? Did you feel like you didn't have a lot of options, or was that just normal?
Well, it was just normal. You know, I didn't feel that way. I could have gone to college, you know, if I wanted to, but I don't remember that anybody ever encouraged me to, you know, that, or my parents, that they would have, you know, helped me go to college, but they didn't say, I really think you should go to college, you know, anything like that.
They didn't try to push you?
No. Mm-mm. So it was kind of unusual, I think, you know, for girls to go to college. I was a farm girl, and I chose to be married, and so I enjoyed, you know, having my family and helping my husband with the chores and doing that type of thing. So that was my choice, and I didn't think about it as something that I gave up at that time.
And now you think differently?
Well, I think now I would have really liked to have gone to college, you know, and I would have really liked to have done some more of those things, but I didn't. So, but I've had, you know, other opportunities that I took advantage of.
How did your views of marriage change from when you were first getting married to now?
You know, you've been through so many things together, and you've just, you know, experienced many, you know, really exciting and happy times, and then you've experienced a lot of sad times, you know, so you really know each other a lot better than when you're teenagers. And you know, where it's more, you're excited because you love each other, but you don't really, you haven't experienced all these things, so it's a lot different. And it's really, if people can only stick it out this long, you know, sometimes in the middle of marriage, you know, people get divorced because of different things that happen, but if you can stay together and you know, make a vow that you never are going to get a divorce, you know, it's wonderful when you get to be 80 years old and you're still married and can enjoy each other. Yeah.
I'm only 17 right now, so when you said you were 17 when you graduated high school, I started imagining what it would be like if I was to get married right now. And I mean, so there are huge differences there. But there were also a lot of similarities because I feel like a few years ago I was expected to get married early and be a housewife and do all that until my parents realized that was just not going to happen.
I didn't realize that the idea and the things that were kind of tied to marriage were so different. You know, back in your day when you guys were getting married than what they are today. And I mean, there's a higher divorce rate, and you know, now there are families with 2 incomes, whereas before there's just one. I mean, there's just a huge difference in just what marriage basically means today.
The women, you know, in our age, we had to sort of submit our personality for a while anyway. We couldn't, you know, we couldn't develop our interests and so forth because we had to take care of our family.
Right, we were dependent on our husbands.
Yeah.
There's a huge emphasis now on gender equality.
Yeah.
There's no profiling to that extent anymore. I mean, there's still obviously some sexism and all that, but it's not to the extent where we're being told, you're women, you should do this, and the man is the breadwinner.
And what you're saying is you're kind of told to go out into the world and not really try to change the world, but try to benefit the world with what you're going to do and not really necessarily stay home and take care of the children. I did not ever hear that.
I expect that marriage, I know it didn't used to be like this, but I feel like these days marriage should be more about balance and equality, and I really strongly believe that both partners in the relationship need to have, you know, something to bring to the table. And I really think that the most important part about marriage is equality in partnership.
Well, I think it would have been a very lonely life to not be married, for one thing. I know that there are, you know, women who don't get married and seem to have a happy marriage or a happy life, but having someone who is your life's companion that you can share everything with, you know, it's like living with your very best friend and you can just say anything you want to or share anything you want to and talk about people or, you know, how you feel about things, and they accept it, and it's feeling that at all times you'll be supported by someone, and you know, they will always look after you because they, you know, truly want to have your best interests, you know, at heart too, and so you have to be sure you get married to somebody who really loves you. That's for sure.
Well, in the end, there is something the same as 2,500 years ago. 2 people coming together, with or without the cows.
hope you all find a really special man.